salespeople may hear that and say, okay, Anthony, Brandon, that makes a lot of sense. I'm still very scared to make the dials. What are some things people can take away from this to help them pick up the phone, overcome that fear, and get started?
So the first variable is, can you trade value? If you believe you can create value for them, picking up the phone is easy.
A face-to-face meeting changes everything. Tell us your belief about the face-to-face appointment and why you value it so much.
Value the relationship more than the transaction, and then you'll have more transactions.
What is your belief, and what would the counter argument be to these influencers that say you don't have to make prospecting phone calls any longer?
Anybody who says that is committing malpractice in giving sales advice.
My guest today is the founder of the Sales Blog. He's the author of Eat Their Lunch, The Lost Art of Closing, and the book my team is reading, which is the only sales guide you'll ever need. With me today to talk about how to effectively prospect and ultimately become a better salesperson, Mr. Anthony Iannarino. Anthony, thank you so much for being here.
Nicely done on the name there. Not a lot of people get the Iannarino. They try, and then usually they just give up.
Yeah.
Nice
well,
word.
It's the I think gets a lot of people, I would imagine.
It sure does.
Well, thanks for being on with me today. I'm excited to share a lot of good, what I believe, insights with you, Anthony, based on a methodology that I think both of you and I share. And so before we jump into it too deep, can you give the audience just a quick background on who you are, if they don't know who you are, and what you're working on these days?
Sure. I started making cold calls when I was about 15 years old, and I was working for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. Some people will know what that means. And I was actually setting up bike-a-thons across America, and I did that job for about a month. I didn't have any real interest in it at all. I was only 15 years old. I got a job at a skating rink, which was a much better job for a 15-year-old. And I left, and they called me and they said, "You're the only person who has any bike-a-thons going on. You have to come back." And I'm like, no possible way. All the job was cold calling all day long to churches and things like that. And I had a much more fun job. So I stayed away from selling for a while. I started playing music when I was 17. I played till I was 26, went out to LA and did that whole thing. But to be able to do that, I worked in the family business for a little while, temporary staffing. And there I was also making cold calls, even though I didn't know that's what they were at that time. It was just, hey, if you're not busy, call some people and see if they could use any help. And so that's what I was doing. I didn't have any idea I was selling at all. I wouldn't have thought of it that way. I thought I was supposed to call and see if I could help some people. So that's what I did. In LA, I got forced into outside sales by a manager who recognized very quickly that I had more sales than his 3 salespeople, and I was in an operational role. And he couldn't understand how a guy with hair all the way down to his waist was outselling his salespeople who were professionals wearing suits and supposed to be really good salespeople. I reluctantly went into outside sales. I had a brain surgery, came back to Columbus, Ohio, ran the family business, grew it from 3 million to 50 million. And then I started writing and teaching and training and all the other things that I do now. And my main project right now is the 4th book, which is called Leading Growth. And it's about how you actually grow revenue by growing the people on your team.
I love it. I love it. Thanks for that. And so that'll kind of set a good framework for today's conversation. So, I am under the belief, Anthony, that in order to really succeed at the highest level, regardless of industry, that you have to be a great prospector. Now, in your opinion, in your experience, why do you think so many salespeople have a tough time understanding that concept? Because I have a tough time getting them to prospect at all. So walk us through kind of your experience, why salespeople have such a hard time with prospecting.
Well, this is going to be an interesting conversation for us to have. So I think that there's a couple variables here that I tend to focus on with salespeople to help them understand this. So imagine that I'm a world-class lifeguard. I'm an incredible swimmer. And I'm walking down the beach and I see a guy and he's drowning. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to interrupt him right now. He's busy. I mean, you can see that he's busy right now. He doesn't want me to come out there and try to help him. Well, of course he does. He's drowning. Somebody has to go help him. So if you believe what I believe about sales, and I'll give you that belief now because it's important. Selling isn't something that you do to someone. It's something that you do for someone and with someone to benefit them. That's what you're doing. So if you believe that your job is to go out and create value for other people, which I believe deeply, that's your job. Go create massive value for other people. If you want to make any money, if you want to take better care of your family, I mean, go with the Zig Ziglar. You can have anything you want if you help enough people get what they want. It has to be an other-oriented endeavor. So the problem with most people is that they think they're being self-oriented when they call and offer to have a conversation to explore some sort of change that somebody needs help with. But you're not being self-oriented. What makes you self-oriented is sitting by yourself and hoping that people come to you because you don't want to do the work of reaching out and talking to people about the things that they need and the areas where you could create value for them that they can't create on their own. So I would argue that you're a really selfish person if you don't try to help people when you have the ability to help them. So we're back to the lifeguard. You walk by and you're like, I'm not going to help that person. Why not? You're a world-class swimmer. Get in there and help that person. That's what you should be doing. So if you have the ability to help people, then you have to do that. So that's my opinion. Now, every salesperson will say something that sounds like this. I really want to be a trusted advisor. So if it's like, Brandon, you know what? You really screwed that up. You got super hurt. Your business is in a terrible position because of that. Wish you would have talked to me sooner. Well, why didn't you reach out and tell me before this? Why did you wait until I have to get hurt before you start to decide to help me? Don't wait until people get hurt. Don't wait until they don't have what they want. Decide to help them proactively and start a conversation. Nothing bad can happen to you. So I'm going to give you 3 variables. One of the reasons that people don't do well on prospecting and the reason that they avoid it is because they don't know how to trade enough value for the meeting that they're asking for. So if I call you and I say, Brandon, listen, love to tell you all about my company. Love to share with you our products, our amazing products and services and all the solutions that are exactly designed to help people like you. Then I'll tell you a little bit about me, and I'd love to learn a little bit more about you. And then the person sitting there getting that, they're like, all right, so you're going to talk about your company. That should be really interesting. And then you're going to talk about yourself because you are so fascinating. I mean, I can already tell on the phone that you're fascinating. And then you're going to ask me what my problems are and what's keeping me up at night so you can pitch me. I'm a straight no on this, right? I'm washing my hair that day. Like what day? All the days that you're available, I'm washing my hair that particular day. And for people listening, I don't have any hair. I just have eyebrows. So it doesn't take long to take care of those. So that's the first thing is like you have to trade value. So value sounds like this. Brandon, I don't know where you are in this decision-making process right now, but I'd love to share with you the trends that we're monitoring and some of the timing that's going to be important if you do want to make the decision that I think you might be thinking about. And even if it's not the right time for you, you're going to have a better understanding of where the market is, what might be good timing for you when you decide to do something like this. And I'll leave you with a deck that will give you all of the insights that you need to make a good decision. And you'll know me and how we think about these things. And I'll know enough about you that if you decide to do something, I can help you. All right, that's it. So I have to promise I'm going to make this valuable for you, even if you don't buy anything from me. So this is the trading value rule. I have to trade you enough value for you to say yes to a meeting. Okay, and I could have 10 different things. Like, Brandon, I want to introduce you to somebody that's going to be helpful for your business. And I'd love to get to meet you, but I'll make sure that you get to meet this person too, because I think they'll be helpful for you. Whatever the case may be, you have to trade enough value. So when they can't trade enough value, then they don't put themselves out there. But if you believe you're a value creator and you can trade enough value, then you need to pick up the phone and start calling people.
I love it. I love it. I mean, it's a really, really good mindset, and I think you touched on a really, some really good points, as far as interrupting people through the lens in which you just spoke of. In my experience, a lot of salespeople may hear that and say, okay, Anthony, Brandon, that makes a lot of sense. I'm still very scared to pick up this phone that seems 10,000 pounds and make the dials. So, in your years of training salespeople, what are some things people can take away from this to help them pick up the phone, overcome that fear, and get started?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you exactly what is true. The first call is a really hard call to make. It's the first call. It's the hardest call to make. The second call is a little bit easier. Third call is a little bit easier than that. But you have to get to the 11th call. If you don't make the 11th call, you're still not going to feel good about what you're doing. But when you get to the 11th call, you're just calling at that point. It doesn't feel like anything. The first one, for some reason, no matter what happens, like you do this every day, but your reluctance comes on that first call. So a couple things. One, do believe that you're a value creator and you're supposed to be helping people. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to understand that you have to have a script that you're comfortable with. Like I can rattle these off like nobody's business because it's what I've done my whole life. But you need to have something to say, I'd love to share some ideas with you. I know you're probably not thinking about making this decision now, but in my business, it's important for you to know who I am. And it's even more important for me to know who you are and the kind of things that you value. So if you do need something, I can help you. And if I see something that's interesting for you, I can always explain where I found it and it might be worth you looking at. But I wouldn't know that unless we can sit down together. Can we have coffee? I'll share this with you. I'll share with you how we think about this. I mean, if you're confident, this is the second variable. So the first variable is, can you trade value? The second variable is, are you convicted and confident? Are you convicted and confident? I'm convicted and I'm confident because of this. Brandon, if I'm sitting in the room with you, I will create value for you that's worth you paying for, even if you don't buy anything from me. You'll say at the end of that, I should be paying you for the conversation you just gave me because I'm so much better off and better informed than I would have been had I not met with you, that I feel like I should be paying for this. That's what you have to believe. But I'm convicted and I'm confident because I know more than you know. I know more than you know. So this is the relationship. One of us has to be one up and one has to be one down. So when it comes to sales, I'm one up. I'm one up. When it comes to real estate, which one of us is up?
Brandon.
Yeah, you're up. Like, I don't know anything about real estate. I like the idea about real estate, but I have not spent any time in the industry. So if I'm talking to you and I have questions about real estate, you're one up. You're going to go like, Anthony, you're not thinking about this right. Let me show you how to think about real estate now. Now I have a very different view because you informed me. And you would be convicted and confident picking up the phone and calling me to talk about real estate because you know it better than I do. And even if you said, even if you're not looking, when you do, I can help you. Okay, good. So we can have that conversation. I don't have to convert you because we have a meeting. I just have to create enough value for you that when something happens and you go, we got another baby coming, we're going to need a new house. Like, who do we call? Call Brandon. Why? Because Brandon's the guy that knows where everything is. He knows what's a good deal right now. He knows when we should be timing this buying decision, like all of those things, because you get a chance to do that. So first, trade value. And then second, have conviction. Believe that you can create value for that other person when you're sitting in front of them. If you believe you can create value for them, then picking up the phone is easy because I know once I'm sitting down with you, everything is fine. It's going to go great. You're going to like me. I'm going to like you. Eventually we'll do a deal, and that's great.
Makes a ton of sense. Now, you said something, and you talk about this in the book that I absolutely love, by the way. You guys should all get that. We'll link that up in the show notes beneath this video. And that is something that quickly in the real estate coaching and training space that I'm becoming known for, that a lot of people have a lot of problem with. And that is that a face-to-face meeting changes everything. I am under the belief that as salespeople, as we're prospecting over the phone, the goal should be to establish a face-to-face appointment. However, Anthony, the big real estate training gurus, the big famous ones, are constantly teaching these real estate agents, qualify. Don't ever go to the appointment, qualify. Tell us your belief about the face-to-face appointment and why you value it so much.
They may be some of the dumbest people giving the worst advice I've heard possible for someone who trades in relationships. Okay, so let's be very clear about what we're doing here. We're trading in relationships. That's how this works. So I have a relationship with you and you have a relationship with me. Easy to do business together. I try to avoid you because you're not going to buy right now. Why do I not want that relationship? So I'm going to tell you what I tell millennials all the time and younger people, Z. I don't want a robot girlfriend. I want an actual girlfriend. Like I want a real woman. I don't want one that's a facsimile of one. And we've been on this planet now in this sort of human Homo sapien uh, body that we're in right now for maybe 200 to 300,000 years. But we've been hominids like this for about 3 million. So I don't think that sexting is going to replace actual sex. I don't believe that's true. I think that the drive is pretty hardwired in us to continue to populate the earth with more humans that look like us. And I don't understand how people think the relationship isn't the only thing you want. So I will tell you, you can have one transaction, Brandon. You can have one transaction with this individual, or you can have a relationship where you own every transaction they ever make for the rest of their life. What do you want?
Great question. Every single one.
Would you spend an hour with somebody getting to know them so that you could establish that? Yes or no?
Yes.
Piece of cake, right? What are you doing with your time? I'm qualifying them so I don't have to go talk to people. What?
Wow.
What should you be doing? You should be going and talking to people. So when people say, you know what, I know somebody, I just had coffee with him, he can help you. Like you can't do that when you're sending emails and you're deciding I'm going to qualify everybody out. I'm qualifying them in. I mean, it doesn't matter where they are right now. At some point, they're going to do something. At some point, they're going to move. I don't know when it's going to be. It could be 4 years from now. I'll still take that transaction. It's fine. And this is the idea that I would call relationships at scale. So if you were to read Robin Dunbar, who's a sociologist from England, and Dunbar's got a number, and Dunbar's number says you're capable as a human being of managing maybe 150 relationships. If you're really good, you can manage maybe 200. I mean, you have to be really good to do that. So my argument is, because your brain is only folded so many times, like a chimpanzee can only handle like 18. You can handle 150, so you're better than a chimp. But I have a computer. So I have an outboard brain that can manage many, many relationships for me. And you can go out and just search David Rockefeller's Rolodex and find out that he had thousands of index cards and he wrote notes like 19 times he met with Henry Kissinger. He's got a note on every single one of those. Before he meets with Kissinger, he reads those notes. He can catch up because he doesn't have to remember everything. You can do that in a CRM very, very easily. But I would tell you, value the relationship more than the transaction, and then you'll have more transactions.
Love it.
The opposite. If you think I just want a lot of transactions, hard to do if you don't have the relationships. Easy to do if you've got them. So go with the grain on that.
Makes a ton of sense. Makes a ton of sense. And I could not agree more. So let's jump into, we're kind of talking 30,000 foot view. Let's go down a little bit deeper into what makes up a great prospecting phone call, in your opinion.
Introduce yourself and tell the person your name. Don't start with, did I get you at a bad time? Did I get you at a good time? Like, don't start with any of those fillers. Just tell them, it's Anthony Iannarino, and I'm calling you today because I don't believe that you're looking for real estate right now, but I do have a hunch that in the future you may. And I'd like to introduce myself and share with you some insights about the market that we're in, and to tell you what timing might look like if you are deciding to do this in the future. And if not, I'd love to buy you a cup of coffee or lunch, share a little bit of time with you, and I'll know you and enough about you that if I see something interesting, I can reach back out to you. And if you know anybody who needs help, that's the way my business works. It's a relationship-based business. If I can introduce you to somebody in my network, I'm happy to do that too. Like, you're just trying to get a meeting.
Got it.
You don't have to overthink this.
Yeah. And I agree 100%. I think a lot of what's being taught in our industry from, the sales gurus is exactly that, open up the call. Hey, how are you doing? It's like the worst thing ever. We're raising the resistance from the prospect.
Yeah. Especially like tell them who you are, who you work for, and what your agenda is.
Yeah.
Some people will still say no. So the third factor I would tell you is you have to be professionally persistent. And professionally persistent means I don't have to win this call. I can say, you know what, I might have caught you at a bad time. I'm going to reach out to you over email and I'll follow up with you and maybe we can try this again in a month or two. Like, I'm not going to give up and go away.
Yeah.
I won PetSmart after 7 years. Like, it took me 7 years to win that account. And then they spent $2 million a year with me for the next 7 years. So it was $14 million. So if you think like, what's the value of the relationship? I don't know. They're going to move 3 times in their life. They're going to have babies and get a bigger house. Babies leave, get a smaller house. And then they're going to move to Florida because it's too cold here in Ohio where I am and no one wants to be here. So you're going to have a number of transactions if you treat it this way. But it's not going to start for you. I mean, you can sit and wait. You mentioned my buddy Jeb Blunt. Jeb Blunt will tell you nobody answers a phone that's not ringing. Like, if you want to talk to them, pick up the phone and call them. It's rare that people get calls now anyway. It's rare. Pick up the phone and make the call. Don't send an email. You look like a spammer. Everybody's sending email.
Yeah.
Everybody's sending fully automated sequences now, taking all the humanity out of what we do as salespeople, because the Silicon Valley ethos should be, you should just be able to print money by letting this machine do all the prospecting for you. And the people that do this, all they do is create resistance. Because Brandon, you're the dude that keeps spamming me. Like, why do you keep spamming me all this time? Like, you sent 8 emails and they're all pasted below each one includes the other 7. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's not a good strategy if you believe in yourself. So this is a hard thing for people to understand. You got to believe in you. Like, that's critical. You have to be convicted about your ability to create value. It's easy to persist because I know I can create value. I know I can help people.
It's a great
But
point.
if you have that doubt, you're going to transfer that doubt to the person on the other side of the phone because you don't sound like you believe yourself. So you got to pick up the phone and call somebody else. Call Brandon and say, I'm going to pitch you and I want you to give me some feedback. Answer the phone when I call and let me pitch you, and then give them good feedback. You know, that once you do this and you get the reps in, it's just natural, but you have to put the reps in.
Totally agree. Got to do
Avoiding it won't make it better.
Yeah, I love it. Got to do the work. Got to do the work. So, there's a lot of people in every space. I'm certain of that in real estate. I'm sure it's the same in yours, saying that the phone is old school. You don't have to make prospecting phone calls any longer. Now, I believe that the phone is the most powerful tool a salesperson has. What is your belief, and what would the counter argument be to these influencers that say you don't have to make prospecting phone calls any longer?
I'm going to reserve my comments on this for just a second, because the bad words that were about to come out of my face were not going to be in any way, shape, or form polite. That's a loser mentality. This started maybe 10 years ago with social selling. Like, you're never going to have to pick up the phone. Cold calling is dead. It makes you a dinosaur. You're a Neanderthal man. Like, you're picking up the phone and calling people. So McKinsey just did a study, came out last week. And Chris Beal from Connect and Sell has an auto dialer program that helps people get the people that they want to talk to on the phone. And Chris put it on LinkedIn. And the study from McKinsey, they looked at 40,000 deals. Okay, 40,000 deals. The top performers in those 40,000 deals made 86% more cold calls than the people at the bottom, 86% more. They sent 26% fewer emails than the people at the bottom. They spent 26% less on emails. So all of this nonsense started with social selling, and it all started with these ideas about you can just automate emails change and put a Calendly link at the bottom. Must be the most lonely link ever on the internet. That link, like, I want a meeting with you. You schedule it with me. Like, what? I had a guy send me one on LinkedIn. He said, I'm willing to have a discovery call with you at no charge. Really? Yeah, well, if I have discovery, of course it's free when you do a discovery call, you knucklehead. What are you thinking? And I looked at his link, so I clicked on it, and I'll just go through this as quick as I can with you, Brandon. 9 o'clock was free. 9:30 was free, 10, 10:30, 11, 11:30, 12, 12:30, 1, 1:32, 2:30, 3, 3:30, 4 o'clock the end of this day. Like, there's the whole day's open. And I'm like, how good could this be working? He doesn't have any meetings. It's not very good. You have to pick up the phone. There's nobody serious about sales. I'm going to say this. I don't know the people in your industry, but I'm going to say this with great extreme prejudice here on what I'm saying.
Sure.
Anybody who says that the phone doesn't work is committing malpractice in giving sales advice, and they should immediately stop giving that advice. Immediately stop giving that advice. It's wrong. It hurts people. You're hurting their business. You're hurting their family. You're taking money out of that family's budget to live off of because you're telling them something that isn't true and it hasn't been true. So me, Jeb Blunt, Mike Weinberg, Mark Hunter, we were on the other side of this fight the whole time with social selling, and they're like, you guys are old. You guys are old. You're old school. You write books. Right, we write books, and I got a white beard. Okay, so Nassim Nicholas Taleb, the author of The Black Swan, says, if you got a gray beard and you're teaching somebody something like a heuristic, a rule of thumb, explain to them why. But if you have a white beard, just tell them what to do. So I've gone with that. I'll just tell you, reject that advice, reject it. Do not accept that you can't pick up the phone, that you shouldn't pick up the phone, that people don't answer the phone. Don't believe any of it. It's not true. The highest sales performers on earth are using the phone as the primary method to get meetings, period. There's no rebuttal to this. There's no more social selling. No one will even say social selling anymore. They won't even say it. It's embarrassing. It was like, we're never going to have to prospect again.
Yeah.
All we have to do is go tweet, Brandon, and then people are going to come and try to chase us down to buy stuff from us. Horrible idea.
Love it. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And in fact, the same is in the real estate space. All the top real estate agents that are making $1 million+ in commissions every year are all prospecting based, period. So as we're making these prospecting phone calls, certainly there'll be times where we hit a voicemail. Can you talk about how to leave an effective voicemail?
A voicemail is a commercial. So you get to leave a commercial. So here's what I would do. I would tell you to do it this way. It sounds like this. Brandon, my name is Anthony Iannarino. I work in real estate. I don't imagine you want to buy a house right now. If you do, I'm your guy. And I'm sorry I missed you today. I'm going to leave my phone number here in case you ever do need anything. And I apologize I missed you today. I'm going to send you an email, and I'll follow up with you later this week. And then I'm going to send an email. And the email is going to say, I'm so sorry I missed you. I want to share with you what's going on in the market, get to know you, love to have a cup of coffee. I know you're not buying right now, but if you need something in the future, I'll know enough about you to help you. And I will try you back before the end of the week. I'm not asking you to call me back. I'm not asking you to respond to my email. I know you're not interested in buying today. I know that that's true. If it's true, I'm lucky. I mean, the gods of prospecting might smile on you if you make a lot of calls and give you one of those, right? Every 20-second call or something like that.
That's
it's
right.
Like, you know what? You caught me at the right time. You'll never catch them at the right time if you're not calling. But tell them you're going to call them back. So it's a tiny bit of a threat, Brandon. Like, I'm going to keep calling you because I want to talk to you. And then at some point they're like, Brandon, you called me like 4 times. What's up, bro? I'm not buying a house right now. Like, I know you're not. I'm not even trying to sell you a house right now. I just want to buy you a cup of coffee so you know me and I know you. And if there's other people that I could introduce you to in my network, I'd be happy to do that. Maybe there's somebody in your network that might be useful to me. And even if there's no next step for us, I'd still love to get a chance to meet you, learn about you and your business and your family and what you're doing. Like, you just have to try it. Like, you just have to go and put it out there. Some people will say yes. Some people will say no.
Love it. When I heard that, Anthony, in your book, The Voicemail Strategy, I said, you know what? That's brilliant. It's genius. We're not asking the prospect to call us back. We're foreshadowing to the prospect that we will be calling them back. So therefore, the prospect says, let me get ahead of this and call this guy back.
Either that or they pick up the phone, and they're like,
yeah,
he's called 3 times. I'm eventually going to have to tell him I don't want to buy a house right now.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, fine.
I love
That's
it.
Okay. I don't need you to buy today. I just need you to buy from me when you buy. That's it.
So smart. So smart. All right. So there's something I teach called, and I think I heard you say this somewhere too. I call it the prospecting law of the harvest. And to me, what that means is that, I think a lot of people don't prospect, Anthony, because they have this addiction to instant gratification. They don't understand pipeline maturity. They don't understand building a big pipeline that manifests over time. Can you speak to that really quick and help people understand pipeline maturity?
Okay, so there's two parts to selling. Everything else is just commentary on these two things. You're either creating opportunities, or you're capturing opportunities. Those are the only two things you do. So that's what you're doing when you're selling. I'm either trying to create an opportunity, or I'm trying to get one through the process so that I can win and mature this over time, so that I end up having, a relationship with somebody that buys something and then buys the next thing too. Like from me, I want the way that I've always wanted to sell, Brandon, is I want to sell so well that I have an absolute right to every deal you ever do. That's my goal. I don't want you to talk to anybody else. I don't want you to even take a sideways glance at the pretty blonde that walks by while we're having lunch together, because I own you. Like, I want to own that relationship. You don't look at anybody. That's it. And I need to sell in that particular way. So you can never close a deal that you don't first create. So you can't do this. Like, there's no possible way. There is no harvest. You've got a field and you got straight lines, but you didn't drop any seeds in there. You didn't fertilize it. You didn't water it. So you got no harvest. Those of us who know this, like you do and I do, we worry about, I never worry about the back end of the pipeline. I never do, because all I care about is every day new opportunities have to go into the pipeline. Every day new opportunities have to go into the pipeline. They'll mature when they mature. I'll help them along as fast as I can help them along without being pushy and smarmy and self-oriented, because they're not going to buy a house until they need to buy a house anyway. But I'm going to go ahead and nurture those over the longest time I have to. The more relationships I have, the more I have a bigger front end of the pipeline, the easier the back end is. It doesn't work any other way. You're trying to defy gravity. You're like, I don't like physics. I don't want to have to be strung up by the laws of gravity. It doesn't matter. Reality doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about your preferences at all. Reality is reality. You didn't plant, you're going to starve and fall. So when is it springtime? In sales, always springtime. You should always be planting. So if you put an inordinate amount of time and energy into building opportunities, the rest is easy. So that you can't avoid this. It's like get rich quick.
Yeah.
Eat only ice cream and pizza and lose weight and have a 12 pack. It's not going to happen for you. Like, there's a certain set of laws that you have to follow, and you don't even get to weigh in on those laws. I didn't get to weigh in on them either. Like, I got here, God had already designed the universe without consulting me at all. Like, I'm not a big fan of gravity, and I'm not a fan of having to work all the time, even though I love working. It'd be nice if it was easier. It's not. So what do? You just get in line. So I'm the person that I always get compared to is Jocko. There are people are like, you're so much about the discipline. Yeah, because I can't reach a goal by having a goal. I can only reach a goal by having the disciplines that make sure that that goal actually comes true. That's the only thing I can control. I can control the disciplines. So if I have the disciplines of prospecting every day, if I have the disciplines on nurturing relationships, and I say, Brandon, you know what? I saw something I thought would be interesting for you. I'm going to zip it over to you. I leave that on your voicemail. I send you something in the email. I got my handwriting on it. Like, this is the part I thought would be interesting for you because where your business is right now. You're like, oh, that's super cool. Thank you. Like, I'm going to nurture that relationship. It's something that you have to do and you need to get good at. If your business is a relationship business, and if you are in real estate and you don't believe that you have a relationship-based business, you're going to be really hungry.
You got to get out of the business.
You got to get out of the business.
Yeah,
You're already out of the business.
That's right. That's right. And so well said, Anthony. I mean, I could not be more in a philosophical alignment than everything that you just said. I call it detaching from the outcome. Only thing we can control is our discipline to fill the top of the funnel. As long as you do that, everything else takes care of itself.
Absolutely. Well, the reason that we are aligned on this is because once you recognize the truth of reality and you look at objective reality, then there's nothing left to talk about. Like, this is what works. This is what causes you to fail. And then you just understand, oh, it's all about creating opportunities. And that's really how I ended up when I came back to my family business. I was the fourth person. There were three other salespeople there. And in 6 months, I had more sales than the three of them put together. And the only reason was is they talked to each other all day about what was on TV and things that were going on in the world. And I dialed from the phone book. I had a young kid
Yep.
in a workshop say, "You literally called from a phone book. Why would you do that?" And I said, "Because that's where they put the phone numbers. Like they were in a book. That's what I had. I didn't have Google. I had a book and the phone numbers were listed there. So I dialed them. That's what I had to work with. And I got to M. I mean, I skipped things that I knew weren't going to be buying what I sold at that time. But I got to M. And then by M, I'm like, I never have to do this again. I have such a big stack of known users. Like it was easy after that. But you put the effort in.
That's great. All right. So let's talk about value proposition. So another thing that the industry fights me on, Anthony, the brokers of all these companies, I have a brokerage that I own as well, and all the gurus really fight me on that an agent, a real estate agent, should have their own unique value proposition, which I think is absolutely critical when talking with new prospects. Tell me your philosophy about whether or not you believe a real estate agent should establish their own unique value proposition or not.
I think that they should be the value proposition. So I'm going from where you are, I'm going up one more level. You are the actual value proposition. Maybe you don't want to be the value proposition. Maybe you want it to be like, well, I work for this agency or this broker and we do these things. That's pushing it off on something external. You are actually the value proposition. I have to decide if I want to use you to help me purchase this real estate or someone else. So you have to create more value for me than anyone else does, or else I'm not going to buy from you. So I need you to be more valuable. And like I bought a house 18 months ago, and my wife saw it on Zillow, and she said, "Do you like this house?" And I said, "I'm going to buy it." And I said, "Can we see it?" And she said, "Yeah." And she said, I'm going to call my friend Jamie, and Jamie will get us in." And I said, "All right, call Jamie." That's the end of the conversation, right?
Right.
Because Jamie has a relationship with my wife and a whole lot of other people, because Jamie's a good real estate agent.
Yeah.
So she's got a lot of relationships. And so it's not like, well, let's interview Jamie.
Sure.
She's got a relationship already. She's the value proposition. And so she's already established, and now it's done. Like the next house, Jamie gets the next house, right?
Yep.
That's how it goes. And she had to deal with me, who's a really like, I'm a difficult person. It doesn't seem like I'm a difficult person in this scenario, but I had a guy who had a contract and he missed the date, his closing date.
Oh boy.
And he tried to hustle me, not having any idea who I am or what I do. Like he had no idea. He was negotiating with somebody who teaches negotiation, so he doesn't know this. Right. And I tried to give him a little bit of time. I gave him a week. He didn't do it. And Jamie said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "List the house." I said, "Have it on Zillow, have it on Redfin, make sure it's up, put a sign in front of it tomorrow." And I said, he's going to figure this out real fast. Like he will figure it out.
Yeah.
And
good for you.
He didn't call. He didn't call for like 4 days. 5th day, he's like, "I got your money." I'm like, I know you did.
Yeah.
Because you thought I couldn't make 2 house payments. Like you think that I'm going to struggle to make 2 house payments, and you were wrong. You misunderstood how this was going to go. And so we ended up fixing things very quickly after he realized that you can't. There's like no pressure that I feel at all, because I'm okay. He wasn't okay, but she's the value prop. So if you want to own the relationship, you have to create value for the other person. You are the value prop. What do you know about this area? What do you know about the timing of this? Who are you going to use to make sure I get the lowest interest rate possible? How are you going to help me manage this process so that it's done on the timeline that I need? Like you're going to have to start creating value for me, because you're the real estate agent. that's trying to get my business. So I can get 1 million. If I walk outside right now, I can probably throw a rock. Whoever it hits is probably a real estate agent. There's plenty, right? They're not hard to find.
No, everyone's a realtor.
Yeah, so it's easy. So that part's easy. Your job is to say, I know more. So again, this is back to the one-upness. So are you one up?
Sure.
What do you know? You can get a business card and you can get some signs to put in front of people's houses if you want to. That's not what a real estate agent does. The real estate agent helps you make the right decision about the house that you're buying and how you buy it.
Yeah.
So that's the value prop for you. You have to help me make the best decision I can. And if what you know isn't greater than what I know, I don't really need you. I might need you to do some paperwork, but I don't need you. So you have to study. You have to know what's available. You have to know that house just dropped another 15,000. That's why you don't want to look at it, because it needs such an upgrade on the inside. I've already seen it. You don't want to even walk indoors. Okay, good. So you know something I don't know. You're saving me from having to waste my time on something because I was triggered by, the price going down or whatever it is that triggers people.
Love it. Love it. Good stuff. And so, I am a big believer. We talked about pipeline maturity. Well, the only way I believe to get a pipeline to mature to help our clients is through follow-up. Right. And yet again, this is another thing that people fight me on. Unless it's qualified, you don't call them. I am a huge advocate for following up. And so tell me your philosophy on follow-up and how often, and give us some takeaways there.
I don't disagree with follow-up. I just prefer a different word.
Sure.
I'm nurturing the relationship.
Fair enough.
Every time we talk, I'm making a deposit in that relationship. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm not just following up. Brand, you decide buy a house? No?
Right.
Okay, good. Talk to you soon. That's not the same thing. Brandon, how's your business? How your kids doing? How you guys doing with the whole COVID thing? I saw something, I don't know when you're going to be looking again, but I did see something that made me think of you. I'm going to send you just over a picture of this house. When it's time for you, this is what I think you're going to be looking for. It's a really good deal right now, but it's going to go fast, but don't worry about that. When it's time, we'll find you something that looks just like this, but it looks like you. Oh, okay, so what do I look like? And then you show them a fabulous house and they're like, I do look like that. That's exactly right. That's the house I belong in. You have to nurture the relationship over time. Check in on them and see if they need anything. If there's some way you can help them, but when they're not buying a house, I mean, that's a good thing to do. We had a realtor, she retired, but I mean, we had our garage door break and she found out about it because my wife was reaching out to people and she's like, I'm sending a guy over.
I love it. Well, and you nailed it.
Her job, right? She sent the guy over. I paid him, she would have paid, but I'm like, you're not paying for it.
Yeah.
If you did that, how do you keep a relationship? I mean, what are you going to do with Dorothy? Dorothy, I'm not buying the next house with you. It's done, right? She wins.
That's right. And you nailed it. And you're right. I think that the industry, when you say the words follow-up, you're right. It has this negative thing. There's never a world where we want to call and say, hey, I'm just following up. Right. It's always a value addition to the relationship. And I think a lot of people just don't know how to do that. That's something that we teach our students. So let's shift a little bit to talk about closing. That's a big word in our sales space. Certainly. I'm a believer that if you have a problem closing the sale, it was a problem with opening the relationship, not the other way around. I'm curious to get your philosophy on what it means to be a closer, what it means to ask for the business. What does it mean to get the client to move forward with you?
Yeah, I think closing should be the easiest part of the whole thing. I think getting the first meeting is harder than closing. It's harder. People are time starved already. They don't believe that you're going to create value for them. And because those two things are true, they say no a lot to meeting requests, not to real estate agents, to everybody. I mean, this is just how the whole world works. If I don't think that this is going to be a valuable use of my time, that's why the trading value thing is so important. Because if I don't think it's going to be worth my time, I'm not going to do it. Because I can get more money. I can get a more of everything except time. So that's the one that you got to be worried about. If you have trouble closing it, then all you have to do is just get some words that you're comfortable with. So I would say at the end of a coffee. Like Brandon, I appreciate time that you spent with me here. I love learning about your business and your family, and I do have one lead, somebody who might be able to use your help right now. Could I ask you, if you decide to look for a home, would you have a meeting with me? Even if you're looking and talking to other people, would you at least have a meeting with me so that we could have a conversation before you do that? And would it be okay if whenever I see something that I think might be useful for you, if I just send it over to you?
Love it. Absolutely.
Like, I mean, that's the softest language. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm a closer, and that's the softest language you're ever going to hear. It's the
Yep.
softest language you're ever going to hear. And you don't have to do anything that makes you feel like you're smarmy, manipulative, pushy, self-oriented. You never have to use that kind of language. It won't work for you anyway.
Yep.
Just be as soft as you can, but direct. So I'm soft and direct, which works really well.
It works really well. And my, oh my, I just, every time we talk about a new topic, we go further in alignment. You know, I call it reverse selling. It's my life's work. It's what I'm going to be hopefully writing books and doing a lot of things that you've been doing. And it comes from what you're saying, you know, a little bit of the Socratic method and how we deliver a message with being direct, that when delivered comes off very soft in a question-based process that makes closing a very simple, very comfortable, and it doesn't apply this huge pressure onto the prospect that we're coming to this decision together. That was beautiful. Talk to us about asking for referrals. When do you think it's appropriate to do so? And maybe what that might sound like. What's that?
When you're signing the contract.
Love it. Makes total sense.
Not the contract. I mean, the contract with the agent.
Right. Up front.
When you're signing that contract that I'm going to be your agent for 6 months or whatever the time period is on your deal, I'm going to say something that sounds like this, Brandon. Don't steal all my stuff, man. I know you're writing a book.
We're going to write a book together. I didn't tell you that.
So I would say, Brandon, I know that we're going to have a very successful transaction. We're going to find you the home that you're looking for. There's not going to be a problem with that. It's a good market right now. It's a little expensive market right now, but it's a good market. And we are going to find you what you're looking for. If this is perfect, and if we can take perfect care of you, at the end of that, could I ask you to introduce me to somebody who you think might benefit from that same experience, if it's perfect for you?
Absolutely.
Okay, see, I'm going to do
Love it.
And then after we close the house, then I'm going to say, is there one person that you could think of that it might be good for me to know right now? You know, after we close the house, now I've done the work. So everything went mostly fine, right? Title agency screwed something up, but I took care of it for you, and that's okay. Right. It doesn't have to be perfect for you to still ask. You just have to solve the problems along the way if they show up, because you're the realtor, so you're the one that's supposed to be doing that. But then after, I would do it when you sign that contract. So I'm asking, if I give you success here, and if you appreciate it and it's good for you, can I ask you to introduce me to somebody? And that's
Smart. Super clear expectation. We're talking about it up front. It sets you up to deliver on your promise. And if you do, it's a two-way thing. Makes a lot of sense.
And then if you don't do this, then it's like this. Brandon, remember like 9 months ago when you bought that house? You know, and I helped you with it. Now it's awkward. Now
it's super awkward.
Like the value is so far in the past now that I can't ask you for the referral. It's easy because that's past value. Like, but when it's present value, it's easy for you to make that ask. The reason you feel awkward and weird is because you waited so long. It's like you go out on a date, you have a wonderful first date, and then the person doesn't call you for 9 months, and then they're like, "Hey, Brandon, so what's up?" And you're like, "Who is this?"
Dude, I'm married.
Yeah, I'm married. I have 3 kids since I last saw you. Like, what are you calling me now for? It's been too long. It makes you feel weird and awkward because you waited too long. So don't wait. And I would just tell you, generally, one of my primary operating philosophies is don't wait. Just always be proactive. Always take action. Don't be passive. Don't be reactive. Don't wait. Just always take action. It's going to serve you better.
It's great.
In the world that we're in sales, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So, you know, as we transition into wherever this world's taking us with the virus and more virtual meetings, anything change for you from the sales process, shifting from a face-to-face appointment to a Zoom strategy? Talk to us really quick about, where you think salespeople need to be aware of as we get into more of that world.
You got to up your game a lot. I mean, you've got to up your game a lot. So I'm on a 16-inch MacBook Pro with 3 mics that are made for doing this. That's why I bought this particular box. I've got a 32-inch teleprompter. So the reason it looks like I'm looking at you is because you're in front of my camera. So I've got a camera behind me, or behind you rather, and I've got lights like all over here. So I'm all lit up because we've been doing this. I mean, we actually, in my business, we started doing Zoom years ago because we're international. So we do stuff all over the world. So we have to be able to have something better than a phone call. So we've been on Zoom for a long time. You have to bring more energy to it. You have to bring more energy. You have to smile more. You have to show up and be a smiling face in the screen and not somebody that's having a Zoom meeting. Like, you do not want to look like that, because the Zoom meeting person's like, my God, like, you don't want to do that. Like, they're going to give you back whatever energy you give them, right? Yeah. You have to start by having better energy. You have to do a lot more setting it up. So you do have to make sure that it's set up and that there's an agenda and that you get to work through some of these things. But I'm going to tell you, I'm not a big rapport guy at the beginning of a call. I'm not. Like, if I was calling on you, Brandon, I would sit down, I would say, like, here's what I want to talk about your business today. I brought these insights. I want to share with you what I know about the real estate business and some of the trends that we've been following that I think are going to be, you're probably already tracking them all anyway, but I'll give you our perspective, and I'd love for you to give me your perspective. And then when we're done, I'm going to go, Brandon, how many kids you got? Like, and how long you been married? Where are you guys living now? Like, then I would do it at the end. On Zoom, I would flip this. Like, you're going to have to say, how you doing? So the COVID thing, you're home. This is now your office, and it's your home, and it's a place where your kids play. And you're probably going to have UPS drop 16 Amazon boxes on the front doors while we're talking. So I expect to hear a doorbell ring at some point. I'm just going to go ahead and be playful right at the beginning, because this should not suck. And if you're going to make it boring and stale and pretend like you're just having a sales call, don't bother. Like, you gotta bring some energy and some fun to this now.
Yeah, it's great advice. Great
We got
advice.
6 more months of this, and then I think we're going to be through. And then I think the appetite for people to get together and have coffee with other human beings is going to be very, very high. Like, let's go back to being around humans again.
I can't wait, and I hope you're right. So if people want to learn more about Anthony Iannarino, where should they go?
thesalesblog.com. That's the best place. From there, there's a little social button up at the top, and you can find me on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, wherever you want to connect. The best thing to do, though, to follow my work is the Sunday newsletter. So every Sunday, I put out a newsletter to 80,000 people. If you go to thesalesblog.com/newsletter, that'll get you signed up for that weekly delivery.
I love it. Well, Anthony, I certainly appreciated this. I love the work that you do. I respect it so much. You're making a huge impact with your work. And so I want to thank you for doing that. And, I look forward to hopefully some future work that you and I can do together. You're certainly an inspiration to me and my team in the work that we're doing. So thank you so, so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
You got it. Talk to you soon, Anthony.